Welcome to the Student Reflection and Ownership Breakout session. Please ensure that all participants are starting this video around the same time. Periodically, you'll be prompted to pause and research or discuss as a group. Your group leader will keep track of time to ensure you complete the video by the end of the session. Ready to get started? First, why are we here? Well, we've got 3 student reflection and ownership goals to tackle. Define, explore, and set an intention. Let's start with a short 2 to 3 minute discussion. In a moment, you'll pause this video and discuss your thoughts on how student reflection and ownership are related. Group leader, please keep an eye on time. Please pause now. Welcome back. I'll be interested to see how your theories aligned with those of John Hattie, an expert in the field. In his review of more than 900 meta-analyses on the factors that most impact student learning, student expectations and self-reported grades came out on top. What does this look like in the classroom? Imagine saying to students, tomorrow we have a test. So today, I'd like you to predict the score that you'll earn and explain why. In a classroom with student reflection and ownership, the students would be very adept at such a task. They could calibrate their expected performance across a series of standards, skills, or concepts quite accurately. Self-reporting requires students to not only be reflective of what they're learning, but to understand their specific strengths and weaknesses. In doing this, students have a greater ability to determine actions, seek appropriate supports, set goals, and track progress. This brings us back to the prompt you just discussed. We see the connection between reflection and ownership as student reflection as a means to drive student ownership. So let's start with reflection. By providing opportunities for students to reflect on their learning, we encourage them to take ownership and make informed academic decisions. I've seen this relationship come to life outside of the classroom in so many ways. Just think about how we track and reflect on our monthly spending in order to better manage our long-term finances, or how we track our steps as a way to justify that piece of chocolate cake for dessert. We've broken reflection and ownership down into 4 categories. Metacognition and feedback boils down to the student being aware of their learning, including their preferences, their strengths, and their weaknesses. And they have a forum to share that awareness with their teacher. Self and peer assessment speaks to that data tracking I mentioned in my chocolate cake example. This is when students keep track of their individual and collective progress. Goal setting is pretty clear-cut. Students should set academic goals for themselves. But this often begs the question of, does this mean students set their own content goals? And the answer is not necessarily. Instead, they should set academic performance goals. And we'll get into a few examples of that in just a moment. But finally, let's talk about informed choice. This is critical. Students should use their reflections about their learning to make the best choices to help them accomplish the academic goals that they set. So how do these 4 categories of student reflection and ownership connect to Fulton's 7 principles of personalized learning? Well, we see it as a layering of choice and voice, co-planning learning, and flexible pacing. If you layer choice and voice and co-planning in the red and yellow boxes, teachers will use student reflections to inform instruction, and students will use their reflections to make more informed choices. If you layer co-planning learning and flexible pacing, the yellow and blue boxes, students will reflect on their own progress to inform their learning goals and pace, and teachers will use those reflections to provide more targeted support and help keep students on track. Now, if you layer all 3 principles, students and teachers will be able to use student feedback to inform both how students learn and at what pace. Now that last one is a lofty goal. Your school's likely not there yet, and that's okay. But let's start by identifying a next step. Take a moment to reflect. Which goals align to those of my school? And remember, the goals are in the orange and green boxes in italic font. Which principles might I adopt and layer to achieve that goal? In a moment, you'll have 2 to 3 minutes to reflect and discuss as a group. The group leader will keep track of time. Please pause this video now. Student reflection and ownership lives within existing Fulton County initiatives, so fortunately, this doesn't have to be one more thing that you add to your school's plate. You might recognize elements from Readers or Writers Workshop, Lucy Calkins, guided reading, or even some that aren't listed on this slide. Now we're going to dig into some concrete examples. These resources are linked in the breakout session agenda. Everyone can explore the first overview. However, afterward, you can target your research by selecting one focus area based on your school's needs. Before you jump into exploring, be sure that you have your breakout session graphic organizer handy. You'll want to jot down at least 3 specific strategies to try at your school. As a reminder, these notes will be used during your action planning time this afternoon. Group leader, you're up. Please keep an eye on time and bring the group back together in this video about 3 minutes before the end of the breakout session. Please pause this video now for your resource exploration time. Welcome back. Did you enjoy looking at those pictures as much as I did? Seeing these practices in action helps me realize that student reflection and ownership isn't as scary as it sounds. As we end this breakout session, please share with the group the strategies that you connected with most. Thanks so much for attending, and good luck with student reflection and ownership at your school.